All right, Stacie, thanks so much for being on the Friends with Wheels podcast. If I could start off by asking how you got started and, what got you doing this work, that'd be great.
Sure, thanks for having me. How I got into sexuality and relationship coaching was I was working in the salon when I was young, and I was going through different coaching and mentoring processes myself and decided that I wanted to explore that further as I stepped into leadership. So that's when I started doing the coaching, leadership development certifications. And then, of course, they ask you to specialize or find your niche. And the threads that flowed through in my life were spirituality and sexuality. So that led me to sex coaching. And that was oh wow, that was probably over 15 years ago. So it's been a journey since then.
Mm-hmm. And what do you do nowadays with your work? Do you sort of help other people with issues around sexuality and all that stuff?
Yes, what I do is from more of a coaching perspective.
Uh-huh.
So, coaching meaning we don't pathologize or medicalize, uh, and we don't focus only on the past. We focus more on what's present and where we're at now, and what do we want different from that, and creating goals to move forward. So, that could mean someone needs sex education around things. It could be wanting to explore, spice up your relationship. It could be people that feel like they have issues as far as feeling compelled to masturbate or watch porn, like PMO, sex addiction stuff. I've helped people with that. So really, it's quite a range and scope. And right now, I do a lot online sessions around the PMO, and I also do a lot of in-person couples spice it up type sessions, teaching people tantra, erotic touch, different ways to experience arousal and pleasure.
Mm-hmm. And sort of what methods or modalities do you use when working with clients?
So, one, I also want to highlight I have had experience with, in some of my training and mentorship with sex and disabilities. So, I was taught sex and different abilities. And one of the things that I found is the whole sex and aging, or sex and different abilities, is a really important topic to highlight because there's things that we can do to still experience sexuality and pleasure regardless of what our ability is. So, leaning towards your question, one thing we do is a lot of reframing. We have ideas or beliefs about things that may not necessarily be factually based. Uh, and we don't like those beliefs. They're not working for us, and we want something better or different for ourselves. So, how do I believe something different about myself? If I don't believe this is possible, I want to believe this is possible. How do we get there? So, a lot of it is there's a mind element. And I also go, so that would include, hey, we got the Socratic method, we critical thinking skills. We're going to do some presence awareness analysis, benefits to benefits. And then one of my big deals is going into the body and checking in with the body because we spend a lot of time in our heads. And much of our pleasure and arousal has to do with dropping into the parasympathetic nervous system. So, through that, there's a lot of the Tantra practices with movement, breathing, sound, visualization, creating an atmosphere for pleasure. And I have a lot of other different certifications that are methods I use also that are fun.
Yeah,
So
feel
it's a
free to share.
conglomerate. Yeah, just ways to dissolve charge around things. Within sexuality, there's kind of like a turn on within polarity, good, bad, right, wrong. And sometimes we can get stuck in either or. So a lot of what we do is about one, dissolving the charge between either or so we can start to embrace and come up with other possibilities that don't exist when we're only looking at two options. So that's something that I think is really fun and a powerful tool.
Hmm. You mentioned like sex and disability and sort of how it intertwines. Do you have like clients who are disabled that experience that?
Yes. And currently, I I've noticed a lot of like, oh, neurodivergent type stuff, accidents. And in the past, I've worked with a lot of people very intimately, like more sex surrogate style, with sex and disabilities. So anything from being, like yourself, you said cerebral palsy.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I have cerebral palsy.
Yes, so things like that. I've worked with people with severe mental illness, uh, schizophrenia, or people that have gone through PTSD types experiences and issues. I've also worked with people that have very, very rare disease or like conditions in their body to where as they're getting older, or even due to an accident, but like they're unable to have the mobility and function that they did. And some of them happen very quickly. And I think that it's important uh, to say you can't desexualize a human being. We are sexual beings from
Hmm.
conception until death. So autism is another, people on the spectrum, that's another hot topic, sex and different abilities, any type of neurodivergence. And so really seeing these things as, oh, maybe there's superpowers and other options to lean into beyond what we've been traditionally told is sex, is orgasm. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, my next question is what have people in the disability community that you've worked with told you about their experiences and struggles?
So, one is just being seen and acknowledged as a sexual being that has human needs and desires just like every other person. That's huge. Um, yeah, I really feel that. And take a deep breath. Also, when we're only shown able-bodied humans, that are in certain ages doing certain acts, we start to believe that that's what sex is. So there's often a limited understanding of what sex can be just based on what we have seen and know. So there's some challenges around like, if this is sex and I don't look like this and can't or don't do these things, then how can I express what options? Which is also where a lot of the energetic breathing, tantra, sacred sexuality comes in because it literally transcends the physical form and time and space. Um, and I'd say probably, then a third big deal would be, yeah, the actual ability. If one does not have the ability to, oh, I'm going to stand up and hold you and, get you from behind, or my body doesn't work that way, or I can't support myself being over someone, or I can't see or hear certain things. So just sometimes the mechanics of how does this work and what are some options, I would say that's another.
Yeah, because I've read in a book once that there are all these sorts of stigmas or negative stereotypes around disabled people. Oh, they can't have sex. Oh, they can't do this. So that's one thing I took away from a book that I read. It's called Sitting Pretty by Rebecca Tasic, and she talks about it in detail in a chapter. So
Oh, definitely put that in the notes
yeah.
as well.
Mm-hmm. What have you learned in doing this kind of work?
Oh my gosh. I call it seeing through people. Um, it's being able to be present with another human being and let go of what we look like, how old we are, or within the age of consent. I will preface that. Um, but you know, oh, they're old or whatever. Those types of things. Being able to see through those normal judgments and um, beliefs and really be present with a person and create an experience with them.
Mm-hmm.
That that's been profound, a profound learning. Um, and I've yeah, compassion, 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 and gratitude. Gratitude for my teachers, people that have trusted me to be a part of their journey, and learn with them along the way. So I feel like there's a reciprocity um, that I've gotten, and a lot of creativity.
Mm-hmm. And when you say
Definitely open-minded, non-judgments.
mm-hmm. And when you say that you had teachers that in your life that were mentors that sort of helped you get where you are today, who were those teachers? Was there like anyone that sort of said you should probably tap into this field?
Okay, I'm just gonna call out. I'm experiencing emotion,
Yeah, yeah, that's
tears,
okay.
because this is really meaningful to me, and it means a lot for me to be able to share this. Um, so when I first got into, sex coaching, I found this book that was recommended to me. One, Dr. Patty Britton. She is the founder of Sex Coach U, so a sex coaching school. She gave me resources that led me to Kenneth Ray Stubbs. And Kenneth Ray Stubbs has a book called it's like The Sacred Prostitute, The Sexual Shaman. And when I read that, oh my gosh, I was like, yes, this is so relevant to me. So I didn't even realize that he was a quadriplegic. Um, so I went out to Arizona to this conference that he was holding, and there were other people with different abilities. So one, Kenneth Ray Stubbs, Path of the Sexual Shaman, um, rest in peace. And also, um, Ray Figs was a model for one of my mentors in one of the demonstrations. And he had had an accident at a young age and became quadriplegic. And it was like energetic orgasm and like witnessing, yeah, just, oh my God. So, yes, and rest in peace. So, there have definitely been people within my sphere of influence. Yes, Kenneth Ray Stubbs, big time, big time. And Evelyn Maureen, she was probably in her 70s, and she's still mentoring me. I just love her up and down. Sex and aging, sex and disabilities was a big thing for her, and so a lot of that lineage I got through her, and through resources from her. And I also have another good friend and colleague. I can give you her information. I'm not sure which name she would share, but she's done a lot of activism with sex and disabilities. And I went to high school with her. And
Really?
then
Wow.
years later, found out, yes. So there's definitely, I'll just say, Amber, love you. And she would be a great person to interview. I'll give you her information. But
Yeah,
that
that would
they
be
have been
great.
great influences and just pillars and yeah, mentors and examples to me.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, to wrap this up, what tips or advice would you give to people who want to learn more about this area, for those who want to do what you're doing?
So, one, I can give you a resource I created, and it is called right now. It's a guide to sexuality professionals. And essentially, is what that does is kind of breaks up different professionals into kind of who does what. So if you do want to get into this work, there is an element of medicalization and literally working with the physical body and, you know, um, surgeries or medications that heal and create function. So there's an area for that you could go into. There is an area if you're really into psychology and you want to dive more into the talking about things and helping people process emotions. That's an area. Then there's also an area where you get more, so those are kind of more non physical. Then there's areas that go into more physicality that I will preface you need to check what your laws are in whatever country and state you live in. Because in the UK, they have a lot of great laws and legislation and accessibility for people with sex and disabilities. So they're very forward moving as far as accessibility to physical human contact. Can I go somewhere and have an actual experience? So you could provide an experience for people. There's sex surrogacy where you do work with a therapist and then the surrogate holds actually goes into the physical aspects with the person. And then you have some more entertainment varieties that maybe there's online, there's in person sex work. So there's, and coaching is kind of, it's not entertainment, it's education. And some coaching includes somatics. So there might be touch involved. So there's different areas that you could lean into. And as a person looking to step into that line of work, and it's a great resource if you're like, hey, I want to talk to someone about sexuality and I'm not sure who am I supposed to go to? Because most of the time it's, oh, go to the sex therapist. But you're like, there's nothing wrong with me. I just want to, learn more about this or have an experience. So even as someone looking for access, that could be helpful. Access to experiences and information and education.
And finally, for those who want to learn more about your work, what can they do?
So you can always visit my website, holisticprogressions.com. And I do have a social media presence on Instagram. I do LinkedIn. And I also do a women's networking event with the Tampa Business Club and Women's Impact Network in the Tampa Bay area. Based in Florida, so I'll shout that out. So yeah, even business networking opportunities, um, that's a thing for me.
Hmm.
So website, and you can always schedule a complimentary 15-minute call. That's always my offer because I can answer some basic questions, see if we're a good fit to work together, or just give you some resources and point you in the right direction so you can find someone to help you with what you need. So
Hmm.
visit my website.
Hmm. All righty. Okay.